Immigration attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your questions today, to give you a good topic to talk about, but also I want to hand out those 2 free consultations. Today's the last day in November that we'll be handing out those 2 free consultations, so listen very carefully. Go ahead, call the number. So it's 561-405-4889. And you are going to say, "Today is blessed," to either Jalen or Eleanor. If you get them, that means you're the first 2 callers. So this is only for the first 2 callers. And if you say, "Today is blessed," call 561-405-4889. You talk to them right now. So between now and 12:38, between now and 12:38, go ahead, call. And when you are talking to Jalen or Eleanor, those are the only 2 scheduling coordinators who are authorized to give the free consultation. And if you talk to them right after calling right now, you will know that you're going to get that free consult. And, of course, they have to confirm you're the first of the 2. So you're the first 2 callers. All right. So go ahead, call that number. It's 561-405-4889. But there's still discounted consultations that we're giving out until November 27th. As long as you schedule your own appointment, then you can get that discounted consultation. So we're taking $50 off. So now the consultation will be $100 to do a detailed consultation. Now, I chose the code "Today is blessed" today because it is truly blessed. I received another T status approval for my client. So it's amazing, amazing. And when I spoke to my client, it was such a it's just so empowering and so inspiring to talk to my clients who are working really hard here. They're working hard, but at the same time, they have to live under certain restrictions of being undocumented, and you know what that means, and you know what that feels like. So to hear the relief in my client's voice, and to know that the the faith that my client put in me to get this done, the trust that my client put in me to get this done, and to see that I was actually able to deliver this to my client is such a great feeling. And it came just in time for Thanksgiving. So I want to give you a scenario here, so that you can understand if you're going through this, you can qualify for relief. Your whole life, the way you're living here, can change. Now, if you are here and you have an employer who's getting you to work for them under some form of duress, they're yelling at you all the time, they are they're using abusing the legal process. So for example, when I say they're abusing the legal process, they may be mentioning that they could potentially report you to ICE, or they could imply that they have certain links to ICE. For example, if you suggest that you want to leave the job, if they're now saying things like, "Well, they're going to have to report you." For example, H-2B, right? The H-2B program, just because you're in the H-2B program, it does not mean that an employer gets to tell you that that you can't leave, right? If you are in a situation where you feel as if this employer is keeping you in place, and it doesn't have to be direct threats, it could be indirect. Maybe they're paying you so low you can't possibly leave. They're overworking you. For example, a couple of my clients who have been granted the T status, a part of the coercion is they're having to work 24 hours in, if for example, the group home setting, where you don't have keys to the property, you don't have the ability to leave because they're leaving you there to take care of other people, and you get no relief. They're making you do all other types of work like cooking, the cleaning. They're making you get up in the middle of the night to take care of the client without paying you extra. They're paying you a flat fee, but having you work 24 hours a day. And they kind of have this attitude like, what you're going to do about it? You're undocumented, especially when you're asking them for increased pay. You're saying, this is too much work. I can't carry on like this. They know you don't have anywhere to go because you might be living there right now, right? You may have come directly from outside of the country and you're living there. They're providing the housing, so they know you have nowhere else to go, but you know that you're being overworked, and you say to them, please, at least if I can't leave, can you please give me more money? And um they they say no because you're undocumented. They can't give you more money. That's not true, by the way. The laws don't say because you're undocumented you can't get equal pay. So if you're in a situation where you just feel like you're being held in this situation, you're being held at the mercy of your employer, or anybody for that matter. If you're in the house with a relative who told you to come and help them with their business or help them out in the house, and you feel as if they're keeping you stuck in this situation by using different tactics, right? Maybe they're being Jinalish, right? In Jamaica, we have the Jinal. If you're Jamaican, you know what the Jinal is. They're being Jinalish, and maybe they're cutting your pay. They're telling you, well, you didn't, this wasn't the arrangement before, but now they're telling you, well, you're living in my house, I'm giving you food, so now I'm going to cut your pay in half to cover all of that. Then that wasn't agreed upon previously, but now you feel like you have very little money to leave, you have very little money to pay your bills, you feel helpless and stuck in the situation. So it doesn't matter the setting. What matters is what you're going through, and that you feel stuck because of what this individual, this employer, this family member, this maybe stranger who just recruited you, because of what they are doing, you're stuck in that situation. So um, that's what happened with my client. That's what happens with most of my clients, actually. All of them have to experience this. It comes in different forms, doesn't have to be direct threats. And in this case, the threats weren't direct, but it was clear that through their tactics, they were trying to keep my client stuck there. And now my client is approved for T status. So amazing. So let me, I talked about the group home setting where labor trafficking is very common. There's also the other type. So you have contracting companies. That's very common, where they hire you, they put you at hotels to work, and they provide the housing to you. But no, maybe they have asked for your passport. So I've seen situations like this. Maybe they've promised you the work permit if you came and worked for their contracting company, and of course they never delivered. Maybe they have, put you in housing and they're taking double the rent, or they're taking more than they should. Maybe they're deducting expenses from your pay, and then they're taking on, in addition to that, they're taking, like, a certain amount out of your pay, and they're not telling you, by the way, how much you're supposed to be paid total. They're just telling you that you're, at the end of it all, you're going to get $11 an hour, or $12 an hour, $13 an hour, after they take their cut. These are the kinds of patterns that that I look out for to determine whether there are signs of labor trafficking. the best way to figure out if you qualify, and this is why I offer these consultations, and we really get into detail. So, this is another reason why my consultations are an investment, because I don't do a surface level consultation like, are you married? Oh, if you're not married to a citizen, nothing I can do, right? A lot of attorneys, they ask you if you're married, if you're not married to a citizen and you're out of status, they will tell you you don't have the ability. Every single one of my clients that have gotten T status have have been told that by other attorneys. Every single client that I've gotten the T status for, because most attorneys are not screening for this. Most attorneys are not interested in pursuing this form of relief. Some attorneys don't even know about it, but it's there, and I understand that my people are here, and they're being taken advantage of like this. I know it's very common, and because of that, I make sure to screen for this so that my clients can get the relief and the justice they deserve, to be able to move forward and not live here in the shadows, not to continue to be abused. So in the past 3 weeks, each week I've been getting a T status approval for my clients. It's amazing. So, and then it's not just my one client, right, that gets it. It's spouses that get the status to be unified with their relatives. It is children. So I just got my clients' children their visa now. They also get a T visa to join their parent here. If you have a child who's under 21 and unmarried, you have T status, or you have a spouse, then you could qualify for this. So, um, you know, go ahead. This is why I'm making this consultation so accessible, because I know so many people need assistance and we don't know what's going to happen next year. So I am trying to get as many clients the relief they deserve before something possibly changes in policy, because as we saw with Trump, that can happen very suddenly, and then we can see change in policies, and then maybe not so they're not so aware. All of a sudden, they're not so aware of how people are being victimized here, or mistreated, or abused here, and so you find that they start to restrict this type of relief. Right now, they changed the policy manual in 2021, November 2021, to make it more to explain how labor trafficking can come in different forms. So it's not just about violence, physical violence. It's not about direct threats, but it also could be through other coercive patterns. And because of this, we've been able to present these cases to the Immigration Service, and they do understand that this is a form of trafficking because of their definitions here. So somebody asked here, what is T status? T status is for victims of trafficking. Could be different types of trafficking. The most common, so there are two types under the definition, and it's sex trafficking and labor trafficking. Labor trafficking is very broad. So, for example, I talk to people and they will tell me about their ordeal of having to be in a relative's house. Their relative told them to come, and they'll put them in school. It made it all sound nice, and when they came, they put them to work in their house. Doesn't matter that they're not paying you. As a matter of fact, I would say they're violating the law by not paying you, right? Because you did not sign up to do work in somebody's house, but now you're here, you're doing the sweeping, the cooking, the taking care of the baby, the taking care of errands. You're now, because you're doing all of this, your freedom of movement is restricted. That under immigration law is considered a form of trafficking. And so this is what we break this down for the immigration service to let them understand what our clients went through and for them to get the relief they deserve. So you're able to work here, you're able to live here, you're able to get your green card here, because yes, the T status does lead to the green card. And if they forgive any inadmissibilities you've had, so say you've been smuggled into the US, I saw somebody say, what about smuggling? I can talk about that. But say you are smuggled in without anybody knowing into the country, and then you were subjected to this kind of trafficking. Uh, then what we do is we submit a request for the immigration service to forgive the entrance without permission. And once they've forgiven it, you've gotten your T, and they grant the T status. The next step is you can get your green card, and you don't have to leave the country to go through the green card process because they've already forgiven that inadmissibility. And as long as you're going to get your green card through the T status, they will forgive that. So it will not be a problem in your green card process. A lot of people don't know that, and so it is very flexible here. It allows you to get your green card. There are ways to get it early. Generally, you have to wait for 3 years after having T status to get the green card. However, there is a way to ask for permission to apply for it early. So we have been doing that for our clients as well, to get their green card earlier than they don't have to wait for the 3 years to start to apply for the adjustment of status process. So I would say this is why I have dedicated this time of giving to provide discounted consultations, and also to provide the free consultation. So if you're going through these types of situations that I bring up, so I remember I talk about T status, VAWA, different ways, asylum, different ways that if you're out of status, you can still fix that situation. Now is the time to do this, and I'm treating it with urgency because we don't know when that policy is going to change, right? By the next election, we could be hearing something completely different. All right, so go ahead, schedule that discounted consultation. And then I saw someone here say they're talking to a staff member. Okay. I'm on the phone now with one of your staff. So happy right now. So I'm looking forward to speaking with you. If you were one of two, so if you're the first two callers, I'm looking forward to speaking with you. Congratulations. If you're listening now and you are scheduling your consultation, congratulations. I don't disclose names here just because these consultations are very confidential. I am obligated to keep my clients and even people who I've consulted with their information confidential, and I'd rather keep it that way. All right. Now, next month we're doing 10. So I'll announce again. You'll see the post and I'll be in the lives, and we'll announce again when we're doing the 10 consultations. So listen out for those 10 free consultations are going to be handed out, 2 per live show. And I'll announce the dates and the instructions. But in the meantime, until November 27th, book your own appointment online and get the 33% off. All right, so I'm gonna go answer questions. So I've told you about the good news here. So now I want to also just direct my attention to your questions. So let's see here. Hi, how can I get a straight work in the US? So if you mean a straight work, as in how can you legally work in the United States, you'd have to have some form of status. I talk often about the work permits. Work permits are different from work visas. give me a call. Let's talk, because there could be so many ways that you could get the ability to legally work here. Hi there. So put your questions in the comments. So someone says they didn't know I was Jamaican. Yes, I am Jamaican. Really didn't hear the accent. Um, oh, it's enough love to you too. All right. I'm on the H2B program. I am pregnant. I will have baby before my contract expires, but I won't be able to extend again. What are my options to explore with you? So this is where we have to talk about facts. In this case, where I ask various questions to see if you qualify in any other way. Generally, having a baby here and being pregnant is not going to get you the ability to get any kind of permanent status or any kind of relief, right? Maybe you might have the ability to change over to B1, B2, where if especially if you have medical needs and it's maybe too late into your pregnancy to leave, you can then change over to B1, B2 and continue under that status so you can maintain legal status and have your baby. But whether you can change over to B1, B2, whether that's advisable, it depends on what your goals are. Is going to definitely require a more detailed consultation, because remember, I'm giving general information. This is not personalized legal advice. So it definitely sounds here like you need to talk this through to figure out whether you want to change over to another status to be able to continue to get medical care here, so prenatal care, for example, or whether you do qualify for other forms of relief. It just depends on what you're going through right now. Okay, does the trafficking have to be in the US or can it be on the border? So usually, this trafficking has to involve some violation of the US law, or it has to be by a US person. So there may be an argument there that you still do qualify for the T status. But I would have to understand the specific facts here to determine whether what does it mean that to say you're on the border. And I said I would talk about this, so let's talk about it, right? So if say you're on the border, or say you hired someone to smuggle you in, and then while they were smuggling you in, that means that you guys are on the border. They're forcing you to do things for them, forcing you to lift bags, forcing you to do work. Maybe if they kept you in a house before taking you into the US, they kept you at some kind of house where they hold you up. Maybe they force you to cook, to clean the house. Maybe they force you to do worse things. Then, in that case, you may very well qualify for the T status. And that does involve like a smuggling turned trafficking situation, but it's going to depend here on the facts. Did you ever come into the United States? Was this by U.S. People, U.S. based smugglers? Was a U.S. Person at the root of this situation where you were at the border and they were forcing you at the same time to do things for them? I do understand that this happens, and it happens often. You'd be surprised. Um, and so this is where, though, I need to understand the specific facts here to determine whether you would qualify. Okay, So if you have a U.S. citizen spouse who is, they haven't filed their taxes. So here I have a question about the spouse not filing taxes. They lived abroad, they didn't file taxes for 7 years. There are different ways that they may be able to approach this. For example, did they even have to pay taxes? Now, the general rule here, of course, in taxation is that U.S. citizens and permanent residents, they have to pay tax on their worldwide income. That means no matter where you are in the world, you have to pay taxes. But there are situations where you may get so low of an income in those 7 years, you may not have had to file taxes. You weren't required to file taxes. So that could be an issue here. And then also the immigration service looks back 3 years. So they didn't file taxes for 7 years, but have they filed their most recent 3 years worth of taxes? So it's going to depend whether this is going to be a problem is going to depend on what the explanation here is. But push come to shove, they may have to also revisit filing those taxes. It's not too late to go back and file taxes if it's required. For example, that this did not happen in a sponsorship situation, but it did happen for my client in citizenship. They didn't file their past three tax returns, and it was just a matter of they filed it. And when they filed it, they could show that they settled their taxes, and it was no longer an issue for purposes of citizenship. So it just depends on what your situation is. I'm pending asylum applicant since 2016, no interview yet, and I'm wondering if there is any other option for me apart from marriage. It's affecting my mental health and I'm in therapy. There may be, as I said before, when I'm in the consultations, I look at all sorts of different options, and so it would just depend on your facts here. I wouldn't be able to tell what options, and this is why I have detailed consultations where I don't just ask basic questions. You're going to be so surprised how detailed I can get, and um, how, you know, uh, how much detail I ask about your history, your work history, your family history, your marital history, your history in your country, to be able to determine whether there is an option for you. All right. Uh, And you know what? Mental health is very important. Make sure you're maintaining that. And I'm glad that you are doing the therapy. Just make sure you schedule some time so we can talk and figure out what's going on. Can someone petition for someone who's already in the state to be their nanny? This is a tricky one. You always hear me say if you're already working for the person, you're already here working, maybe you're working even on a visitor's visa, you can't stay here and apply for the to be a nanny. And then the options are it's going to depend, right? The visa type. In order to go through, for example, the J1 program, where if you've heard about au pairs, the J1 program requires certain sponsors, so certain agencies to sponsor someone for the J1 program. So there may be some limitations there. And then if they're applying for your green card to be a nanny, a permanent nanny, that's also going to require that you did not work in the US without a permit, that you're not currently working for the individual, the employer, until you get legal authorization to do that. So when that's disclosed in the application, that's going to disqualify you from getting adjustment of status, that's staying here and applying for the green card. So this is where I say this is also a red flag for trafficking, because I have represented clients in situations like this where they are convinced to stay. They say, oh, it's a easy peasy. We'll get your green card for you. We'll get your visa. We'll get your work permit for you. And you can just stay. So just stay. Don't worry about it. And then they either don't mention it again, or when you bring it up, when you ask them about it, they keep stringing you along until they don't need you anymore, and then they either throw you out on the street, or they start to make you do more and more and more and more, because now they have you where they want you. So my rule here is anytime an employer comes to you, whether you're outside of the US or in the US, you're on a visitor's visa, or you're restricted to working in some way, and the employer says, come work for me first, and I'll get you your papers, it's a lie. They can't do that. Okay. And many of them are very experienced employers. They know they can't do it, but they tell you this because they know it's what you want to hear. And it's the number one way that they get to get you into manipulate you into working for them, and getting you into a situation where they can keep you stuck, take advantage of you, and then subject you to the labor trafficking. That's how labor trafficking starts in many of the cases. Yes, exactly. So, the governor just signed. So, someone says here the governor just signed the law. So, remember, I talked about the Texas laws, where the police can actually take immigrants to the border and order them to go across the border, or face a criminal charge, so go to prison. It's now law in Texas. So, this is why I am saying that empower yourself. Right now, the federal government is not really on board uh, with what like states like Florida and Texas are doing. So they are still taking an approach where if you do qualify for relief, even if you're undocumented, they will consider it. Uh, but you have to make the move, because we could see this extend nationally, right? If we have a different president in 2024 that's going to take over in 2025, then it means that we could see a lot worse. We could see what's happening in Texas, what's happening in Florida go national. So, it's really just something I never thought I would see, where human beings would be um, marginalized in this way. It's basically saying that certain human beings, immigrants, are illegal. And that's a dangerous premise, because it means that any one of us with an accent could potentially be targeted, not just undocumented immigrants, but anybody who has an accent, who has a different, who just has a profile of what an immigrant looks like. It means all of us are at risk. Because if sometimes when these officers stop you, you can't say a single thing to them. They're very militarized, some of them, and they are very aggressive. And so sometimes they take action first and then ask questions later, which means they could be driving a citizen to the border and telling a citizen to go across the border, and they could be facing criminal charges, going to court, and having to prove that they are indeed a citizen. So these kinds of laws, it's not just dangerous to undocumented immigrants, it's dangerous to all of us, because we could be placed in dangerous situations just based on profiling, right? This is how racial profiling happens, because like, for example, I fit the profile of an immigrant. I have an accent, I have brown skin, and that means that if I'm not even traveling with my proof of citizenship, they may assume that I'm undocumented and take action against me. So Texas is just not a safe place to be. And, they're going to feel it, because there are so many immigrants there, so many immigrants contributing to the economy, contributing to the labor market in Texas. They're going to feel it. They're going to feel the repercussions, just like Florida. So It's take action now so that we can find some solutions. Okay, so how long does your consultation last? So the consultations are up to 30 minutes. Keep in mind that this is an evaluation and the length is going to depend on what you qualify for. I ask detailed questions to determine what you qualify for and how we can move forward. And it is an investment here. So it's up to 30 minutes, but there's no guarantee it's going to be 30 minutes just because it says up to 30 minutes. It depends on the information I get and what we find. Some of my consultations, sometimes if it's a really a situation where we're exchanging a lot of information, some of them even go over 30 minutes. So it just depends on what I find. If I find something it's crucial to make sure that I understand all your facts to get to the bottom of what you qualify for, it's going to take up time. And at that point, to tell you the honest truth, I mean, I do go jump from. I make sure I respect the time for the sake of other people who have consultations, but at the point where I'm getting this information and I'm determining that the client qualifies, time sort of just goes by, because I my number one concern is we get to the bottom of it, the client understands what they qualify for, so we can move forward. Is it better to get your work permit before coming to the US? If so, how do I go about it? So, thanks for that question. Let me clarify, the work permit is different from the work visa. Always best. It is always better to get a work visa before coming to the US, right? Because the work permit is for individuals usually who are applying for a process, a benefit, a form of relief, and so it means that you either are going to have to wait a while before you have the ability to work, or you've been through a lot and now you qualify because you've been through a lot of bad stuff. You now qualify for the work permit, but now you have to wait for the work permit to come. That's in the US. You have to be here applying for a benefit or relief to get the work permit. You have to qualify in itself, you have to qualify by itself for the relief or benefit. For example, do you have family sponsoring you? Do you have an employer? Have you been the victim of trafficking, as I was talking before? Do you have a citizen resident or a citizen son or daughter who's age 21 and older who is mistreating you? Then in those cases, a work permit is possible through adjustment of status, through VAWA adjustment of status, through the T status. And then there's also the U if you're the victim of crime, and there's asylum if you're afraid to go back to your country and you qualify, you're here in the US. The work visa is you enter the country with your very own work visa. You have the right to work here. You likely will have an easier time. You have terms set on your work visa. Maybe you're restricted to work for one person. For example, the H-2B, you can only work for one person at a time, and you work in seasons, and you can extend it based on maybe if another employer wants to hire you or the same employer wants to extend it. So by all means, get the work visa first. But if you're already here and you want to make sure that you qualify to work, but you qualify for other things to work, like you qualify for the green card, you qualify for relief, then at that point you apply for the work permit. So there's a difference. All right, so I'm going to come over here. Let's see if we have anything on YouTube. All right, so I see a number of questions. So I'm going from platform to platform. So bear with me. I am coming over to you, TikTok. I'm now on YouTube and Facebook. So put your questions in the comments so I can answer your questions. I'm looking here. So, Kay says, yes, that's true. You're the first attorney I heard give such details of the about the T status. Absolutely, this is one of the areas I focus on in order to determine whether you qualify for relief. So everything is on the table when I'm evaluating your situation. I'm a permanent resident. I can apply for visa for my son. um Not, it depends on where you're from. So, they do have family reunification programs for certain countries where if you filed an I-130, you could apply. Well, not apply, they invite you to bring your relative here on parole to wait out the time to get the green card. But it depends. For example, they just announced that Ecuador is one of the qualifying countries, and you don't apply though, they send notification. But this is not for every country. I believe they have it just for certain, like Haiti, I believe Cuba, and I'm not sure about Venezuela, but now they've announced Ecuador. So that's there, but your son is not going to get a visa just because you have permanent residence. Because, as a matter of fact, if your son went and said, I want to go to the US because my parent is a permanent resident, they would say, you're not getting the visa unless you can show us that you have some stronger ties to your country to return. Because if they just see that your son has a permanent resident mother and nothing else left in his country, then they're not going to grant that visa. So you have to be careful about the B1, B2 visa, the visitor's visa. Let's see. I am Guyanese and I have a 5-year work permit. How can I get my status adjust to permanent residency? So if you have the 5-year work permit, I would want to know how, because it either means you're already going through adjustment of status and you have the work permit to hold you over, or you have maybe been granted withholding of removal where you went through immigration court and they decided to put a hold on your deportation and issue the 5-year work permit. So I need to understand here how, because the only way you could get that 5-year work permit is through limited forms of relief here. And you would have already had to apply. So you may be already on your way to the green card. I don't know what your situation is though. Can my I-130 visa interview be derailed by my mother who is undocumented? It's unlikely unless there's some proof of if there's some proof of misrepresentation or fraud in your past applications. For example, if maybe you told an untruth about where your mother was or the status of your mother in your application, maybe that could possibly cause a problem. But just by having an undocumented relative, it would not disqualify you from going through the I-130 process. When will I hear from NVC after my documents have been successfully submitted? So I would say 2 to 3 months after it's been submitted, they'll tell you whether they've accepted it. If they've accepted everything and they say they don't need anything else from you, they will tell you you've been documentarily qualified. And then they'll tell you the next thing is to just wait for the interview. Now, the wait for the interview after that is going to depend on the wait time at the embassy, but right now I'm seeing anywhere from a year and a half to 2 years. Can I screenshot text messages for bona fide marriage with my spouse? So yes, but you're gonna need more than just messages. No, it depends. If you are, I wouldn't say it's the strongest evidence. It's helpful. For example, with the VAWA standard, it's any credible evidence. And so if you have text messages, that's great because it shows that there's a pre-existing relationship. But what other types of evidence do you have too? Pictures and text messages probably will not be very convincing. In addition to that, do you have friends and family who can attest to your relationship, your bona fide marriage too? Okay, so I go ahead, call the office, Moha, and we can talk. But I can't discuss any cases here. Usually, if the person is not my client, they need to schedule the appointment. So go ahead, call the office staff. Once you're my client, staff is there to cater to you. So you don't need to come on the live and talk. You can call the office. Thank you for. Oh, awesome. Well, I'm so glad. So, a past client here has said, thank you, attorney, for my green card. I'm going home for X Max. Thank you so much. My pleasure. And thanks for letting me know. It's awesome. I'm glad. I need pictures. um, Especially pictures of your family coming together. After applying for VAWA, do I still need to be going for therapy? Now, is the therapy helpful for you? If the therapy is helpful for you, by all means, you should keep going, but it just depends on what your situation is. I can't tell you whether you should keep going to therapy or not. It's always a good idea to continue therapy just for your own mental health. But I'm not your attorney, and I'm not giving specific legal advice here. I certainly can't give you an evaluation about whether you should be continue doing therapy, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. So if you were to bring your niece here and you're a green card holder, would that affect citizenship? No. No. If you brought her here and you smuggled her into the country, then yes, smuggling can be a big problem. But if it's a situation where she wasn't smuggled across the border, it's just she's here with you and you're taking care of her, that's not going to affect your citizenship. How do I check my VAWA case online? You can go to the uscis.gov website, and you'll be able to put your receipt number in, and then it will tell you. All right, here on TikTok, let's go ahead and answer some questions here. Oh, thank you so much, Alan Gala. I appreciate that. If undocumented immigrants married with a USA citizen, can they get papers? Yes. Now it depends though how you get the papers is going to depend on how you enter the country. Did you sneak across? If you snuck across, you're not going to stay here and apply unless you're applying for FAWA, with, with which that involves mistreatment by the citizen's spouse. If you came in with a visa, came in with parole, came in with permission, then in that case, you are able to get your green card through that spouse. I'm a teacher in the U.S. on J1 visa. How can I file for a waiver? So that's a whole process. It depends on what waiver you qualify for. There's one called the no objection letter. First, you have to go to your country, get the no objection letter. Each country has their own process. Then when you get that letter, then you're going to go to the Department of State and apply for the waiver. Can you get a waiver if you're on a J1 internship? Yes, it's possible. Can you get a waiver? Okay, so I saw that. My passport is expired, but my visa has not. How can I go about renewing it while I'm overseas? So there are different services, maybe even online services that assist. You just find a reputable one. I wouldn't be able to tell you a service, but there are passport services available. Maybe you should visit the passport office website in your country, and then they may have resources available for those who are living abroad. I'm currently on an F1 visa. My mom has green card. Is there any way I can get change of status without marrying? It may be possible, but keep in mind if you're 21 or over, that's a 5 to 7 year process. If you're under 21, then adjusting status here may very well be possible. But this definitely is going to require a consultation because now children who are under 21 and unmarried of green card holders, there's a wait list. Right now, they're just processing September 1st, 2023. So it's not as long as the others that we've seen, but it means you have some months. For example, the September 1st, 2023 priority date where they're processing any application submitted on or before that date has been there for the last 2 months. It's been showing there. So it just shows you that it can stay stuck at on that date for a while. But I don't anticipate it's going to be years and years. So it may be possible if you have a 4 year F1 and you're, not too far into that 4 year F1. Okay, so someone here says, I've scheduled a free consultation with you on Monday. You're doing a great job. Awesome. Congratulations. So if you're listening, congratulations. I'm pretty sure we have had those two callers. So that's probably not available anymore. But go to the link in the profile and schedule your appointment at a discounted rate. This is happening until November 27th. And then in December, stay tuned because I'm going to continue doing this for individuals throughout December through the Christmas season. So just stay tuned, and I'll you may get that free consultation, but the discounts will happen again also in December. Can someone divorce and remarry in the same year? Yes, but is it advisable? This is where you need to get a consultation. If my US visa was revoked, can I travel back to the US? If it was revoked, it's going to, it is the question, can you get your visa back? It may be really hard and it depends on the reason for the revocation. Married to a green card holder, he won't be qualified until 312. Oh, 2 years. What do you suggest we start doing, please? I suggest definitely schedule the consultation so I can talk to you in detail. I think this requires some detailed strategizing. Still filing the I-130 petition, even though you won't be able to do adjustment of status, may not be a bad idea, but I don't know what your situation is. Now, if you're out of status already, I don't know if you're here, or if you're outside of the country, if you're out of status already, then at the I-130 does not expire. So that means that at the point that your spouse becomes a citizen and you have an approved I-130 petition, it means that you'd be able to adjust status here as soon as they become a citizen. However, as you can see, I am making assumptions here. The best investment you can make is to get legal advice, and this is where the consultation is going to be useful. Go to the link in the profile. So on YouTube, it's in the description of the video. On Instagram, it's the link in the bio. So go ahead and schedule the appointment. I-485 still under review after 2 years of filing, interview last year, and I-130 approved. What to do? So yes, if your I-130 is approved, it's still under review. Now, with an I-130 approval and you don't have any other issues, that is usually a sign that they may waive the interview. I don't know why it's taking that long though. They may send a request for evidence. Maybe they've sent it and you've missed it. I wouldn't be able to tell. But if they've approved the I-130, you don't have any past arrests or other, violations, then all they have left to do is issue the green card. So get in touch, maybe figure out what the holdup is. That's the best advice I'd be able to give right now. Um, and just make sure they haven't sent any requests for evidence for example, a medical or anything like that. How soon can you put in a paper after getting married? There's no law that says you have to put in the paperwork, you know, like a year later. You don't have to wait. But what I would say is it advisable to do it right after you get married? You know, do you have enough evidence to show that you have a real marriage? If you do and you're confident in that evidence, great. But if not, then you need to, slow down and figure that out first. What if it is a Kenyan and did not hold some Jamaicans as hostage right now? Okay, so what if it is a Kenyan did it, hold some Jamaicans as hostage right now? I need help. Well, thanks for letting me know. Yes, it doesn't matter about the nationality of the person. If they're in the US, they're doing this to you. Doesn't matter. It could be a fellow undocumented person that's holding you hostage as a worker. Then you can qualify for T status. They don't look at the nationality of the person. They look at what is this person doing to you. How soon can you put in the paperwork after getting married? So I answered that. So does the USCIS see additional evidence when you upload it on the online account? Yes, but you have to make sure you upload it in a timely fashion or they may not see it. How soon can you put in paperwork after getting, I answered that. I-485 still under review after 2 years of filing, so I answered that. How soon can you put the paperwork in after? I answered that. So I'm seeing repeated questions. I have to file for my asylum, but my clock is not reading. So you need to consult with your attorney on that to determine what happened and why it's not running right now. When filing for VAWA, if married to a green card holder, do you have to wait for a visa to be available for the green card? Right now, yes. But what I would say is still get that VAWA petition in. Don't wait. I think this is the part that people don't get is that they think because they can't apply for adjustment of status right now, they're just not going to file anything. But guess what happens? You don't file the VAWA petition, time goes by, and the wait list is only getting longer. So I would say at this point, it's urgent to get your petition in so that you can then have your come off the wait list sooner to apply for the adjustment of status. What's the possibility or process to get work visa to work as a flight dispatcher in the US? It just depends. Do you have an employer who's willing to petition for you? What are your qualifications? So, would have to determine all of that. Is it possible to get a work permit before T visa is approved? No, you have to wait until it's approved. What information you have for people that cross the border and turn themselves in? So there are various things going on with that. So some are being paroled, some are sent to immigration court. Do you qualify for asylum? It just depends on your facts here and what happened in your case. Once I'm paroled in the USA for 2 years, when will I be able to apply for the green card? So you can't, parole alone doesn't qualify you for the green card. You still have to qualify in other ways through family, employment. And if you're paroled and that parole has expired, you have to take that into consideration too. So it just depends. How long does it take to get to do the biometrics with you if you filed for FAWA? So I would say like around 2 months. I-485 still under, okay, I answered that. I was just given paperwork, alien number, and court proceeding, but I do have to check up. So yeah, so this is the when you cross the border. So it sounds like you're in immigration court. The next thing you need to figure out is, do you qualify for some kind of relief? It's important to strategize and get that planned out, because you're going to have to present it to the court. And this is where you need a lawyer. So give us a call and we can talk about what kind of relief you qualify for so we can bring it before the judge. So if you say, for example, you qualify for asylum, you wait for over a year, then you're not going to qualify again, and it's going to get really hard to get that asylum. So make sure you get legal advice. So the number one error that I see with individuals who come in through the border is, I understand it's a harrowing journey, and things are really overwhelming. They're trying to get settled here. Some people are trying just to survive and try to make it through the day. But if you want to live here long term in the United States, you want to make sure you make a case why you need to be here, that you present a legal basis to be here. You need to get legal advice. It's the number one mistake that I see people who come across the border make, is that they seek legal advice when a year and a half after they've been here, and it's getting really distressing. But if they had done it within the year time, they would be able to apply for the right kinds of relief. Now, the immigration, they're supposed to give you a list of attorneys that you could call. You could start there, or if you do know of an attorney, for example, me, you can always call me if you're watching. Call, and we can talk about what your options possibly could be. But get legal advice as soon as you come in. Get that legal advice. All right. So I stayed on for a whole half an hour more, just because I wanted to really cover your questions. And it's a holiday. I am going to be out uh, from tomorrow until Friday, and I'll be back on Monday. So go ahead, schedule your appointments so you can get on my schedule, because it is filling up, and before you know it, it's gonna be Christmas and then New Year, and I want to be able to help you. It's urgent right now, I believe, and the individuals who have invested in my team services are really seeing the benefits here, and I really want you to experience the same type of joy that my clients are. So first, start with a consultation. That's going to be the minimal investment that you have to make to be able for me to understand whether you qualify for relief. So go ahead, go to the link in the profile if you want it at a discounted rate. Schedule online, really easy. Go to Linktree and you access it. The link is in the description of the video on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and on Instagram profile page, the link is there. And on TikTok, it's on the profile page. Right now, it's $100 to schedule the consultation if you do it online. Only if you do it online, you'll get it for $100 right now, $100.50. So thanks everyone for your time. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the holidays. Follow me, because throughout the holidays, I'm still going to be releasing videos. Informative videos, videos that can help you understand maybe what kind of situation you're in and possible solutions. So follow me so that you can see those videos. Are you an asylum attorney? I do also represent my clients on asylum cases. So yes, so you can give us a call and we can talk. Make sure you do that ASAP, because there is a deadline on filing for asylum. Have a great day. Have a great holiday for those of you who are in the US, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you. Congratulations to all 6 people who got the free consultations. I'm looking forward to assisting you. Have a good one. Bye bye.